Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. This time, Ungoliant, the terrifying mother of Shelob and the giant spider-like monster. Shelob is probably one of the most terrible and terrifying creatures in the blockbuster series The Lord of the Rings. However, Mother Ungoliant is considerably more so. There are many dreadful monsters to observe in the realm of The Lord of the Rings, but none are as frightful as the huge spider Shelob, who appears at the very end of the Two Towers. While many people believe Shelob is the most frightening entity in Middle-earth, this ferocious monster had to be born from something considerably more wicked and terrifying. While this evil creature does not appear in The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, it is a symbol of fear and evil in the lore. Ungoliant is Shelob's distant mother, existing before even the First Age, and during the reign of the glorious Valar and Valinor's Golden Age. In addition to that, it is also recorded that she was not even a spider at the very beginning. She finally assumed that shape following the destruction of her staunch ally Melkor. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Exploring the dark origins and history of Ungoliant. Ungoliant was originally a primordial being who took the form of a massive spider. She initially was Melkor's first ally in Aman, and for a brief period she assisted him in Middle-earth as well. She was Shelob's distant mother, as well as Arda's oldest and first enormous spider. Even within J.R.R. Tolkien's literature, the true history of Ungoliant is unknown. Even the Valar, the numerous powers that fashioned the universe and are regarded as primordial gods, were unaware of Ungoliant's actual origin. Given that the Ainur traveled through the void on their way from the mythical timeless halls to the realm of Arda, she may have been a mighty Maya in the shape of a spider or a creature who was from the void itself. The origins of Ungoliant are buried in secrecy. She is thought to have been one of the powerful Maya, or a minor spirit that Melkor corrupted many years ago. Yet she is not named among the Ainur that have been recognized in the literature. She is also supposed to have come from the darkness that is above Arda's sky, prompting others to assume that she is a manifestation of darkness or nothingness itself. What is known for sure is that she had abandoned Melkor and lived alone in Avathar during the time of the Years of the Trees. When Melkor was beaten and jailed by the lords from the west after the very first elves awakened to Cuiviénen, Ungoliant fled to the southern parts of Aman to avoid the onslaught of the Valar and all of the hunters of Orome. She created her dark lair inside a ravine at the south of the highest mountain peak of Aman, Hyamentir, assuming the physical shape of a huge spider and desiring to suck up every little bit of light she could obtain. She wove thick webs of darkness that choked all passing light after each meal. Melkor sought Ungoliant's help in his invasion of the magical Two Trees of Valinor, after creating discord among many of the Noldor and fleeing Valinor. She aided Melkor in infiltrating Valinor by enveloping herself and her allies in absolute darkness. When she was inside Valinor, Ungoliant drained the radiance from the Two Trees of the Valar when Morgoth injured them with his weapon, and this was known as the Darkening of Valinor. She also emptied the wells of Varda completely so that nothing from the light of the two lamps remained except for the Silmarils of Fëanor. After this heinous deed, Melkor and Ungoliant fled to Middle-earth to avoid the crushing weight of the wrath of the Valar. Melkor had told Ungoliant that he would repay her with both his hands, and following their retreat from Valinor, the wicked Dark Lord did indeed present her with numerous Noldor jewels. But he managed to safeguard the Silmarils inside his right hand, because of the fact that he treasured them too much to let the great spider consume them, and he had desired them greatly. Ungoliant, angry at the Dark Lord's behavior, wrapped Melkor within her webs and prepared to consume him as retaliation for his perceived treachery. By consuming the brilliance of the Two Trees of the Valar, Ungoliant had become considerably larger and more powerful than before, and Melkor had drained himself due to his previous efforts. Certainly, the powerful Ungoliant, also known as the Gloom Weaver, would have murdered Melkor if his desperate plea had not been answered by his faithful Balrog, who then emerged from their vaults under Angband and rushed to Lameth in the form of a torrent of fire, rescuing their lord. After the Balrog's fiery and powerful whips demolished Ungoliant's webs, she fled in fright to the southern corners of the highlands of Dorthonion, known as the Ered Gorgoroth in the vast northwestern region of Beleriand. She had many children there, including Shelob, who spread over the lands of Ered Gorgoroth and earned it a reputation for terror. These lands were known to be famously spider-infested due to the terrible offspring of Ungoliant. She also sought to infiltrate Doriath, Thingol's kingdom, but was stopped by the strength of the powerful Maya Melian. Ungoliant herself eventually vanished from history, although her exact fate is unknown. Some say that she traveled into the forgotten parts on the south of the globe long before the emergence of the sun, and others say that she eventually allowed her ever-growing hunger to overpower her and consumed herself. Ungoliant's past is much more enigmatic and secretive in the Book of Lost Tales and other versions of the Legendarium than it is in the printed publication of the Silmarillion. Even the ethereal Valar were unaware of her true beginnings and origin story, and she was shown to be a primitive spirit of night, thought to be a creature spawned of the darkness and gloom of the void. In addition, when escaping the Valar, Melkor and his friends come upon Ungoliant inside her lair, which is known here as Arvalin. Ungoliant and Melkor are shown to be on warmer terms than what has been shown in the text of the subsequent editions of the Silmarillion, since Melkor freely gives the gems that had been stolen from the elves except the Silmarils, as the theft of the Jewel of Silmarils had occurred before the inevitable darkening of Valinor in the earlier versions of the text. She is injured following the contamination of one of the two trees of Valinor, the Golden Tree in particular, by a lone elf who was named Daurin, whose blade is tainted by her blood. Melkor murders Daurin and utilizes his blade to mortally injure the Silver Tree as well, while Ungoliant is healing from her fatal wounds. Instead of escaping along with Melkor after the darkening of Valinor, Ungoliant immediately retreats southwards in the direction of her lair, eluding the powerful Valar. Tolkien pondered having Eärendil encounter her as Willy Lomi in his travels in an initial version of Eärendil's adventures in the Lost Tales, which was something that Christopher Tolkien found strange. Eärendil killed Ungoliant in the first Silmarillion draft in the year 1926, intending to reboot the Legendarium. Ungoliant is clearly mentioned in the later version of the Silmarillion as recorded in Morgoth's Ring as well as the War of the Jewels, as one of Melkor's slaves who abandoned him before establishing a lair in Avathar. During the duration of her stay in Avathar, she is also shown to be starving to death, shut off and separated from the illumination of the ethereal Valar by her own thick and evil webs of darkness. She is also seen to dread her master and flees from him when he first approaches her inside her cave. She originally refuses to come out, knowing Melkor intends to kill her for abandoning him, until he gives her a collection of diamonds that he took from the Noldor. She subsequently goes on to regain her powers enough to demolish the two trees of Valinor, which is a task that she accomplishes alone as Melkor stands guard near Avathar. It is reported in the book The Fall of Gondolin that Ungoliant consumes herself in her desperate hunger after traveling south during the First Age. How Ungoliant formed an alliance with Melkor and its aftermath. Melkor sought for Ungoliant in a bid to exact his vengeance on the powerful Valar and also the elves. He approached her during her time in Avathar and informed her about his objectives and eventual plan. Though she was extremely enticed by Melkor's intention for her to consume the light of the magical two trees of Valinor, Ungoliant dreaded the great might of the Valar and was apprehensive about joining him. Melkor offered to satisfy her insatiable hunger with whatever she desired in exchange for her help. She consented and they travelled to Azelahar, wherein she poisoned the trees and then completely drained them of their sap and also drained the wells of Vardar. The unlight that were created by Ungoliant thwarted Orome and Tulkas' furious pursuit, and then Melkor fled to Middle-earth along with her. However, her absorption of the enormous power of the trees as well as the wells led her to rise to a shape and size that was so enormous and absolutely hideous that even Melkor became terrified of her. When they landed at Lamoth, which was a location in Middle-earth, Melkor, who had now come to be known as Morgoth, intended to flee to the remains of Angband, where the remainder of his troops awaited him. Ungoliant wanted the gems Morgoth had taken from Formenos even before they were able to reach Angband. Suspecting that he planned to break his promise to her, she consumed them and expanded to much greater and monstrous proportions. She then went on to demand that Morgoth hand over the brilliant Silmarils to her. Morgoth, on the other hand, refused and she fought him. She sought to entangle him in her dark black webs and grabbed the Silmarils using sheer force. Morgoth cried out in agony as she struck, and this cry was heard by the Balrogs sleeping beneath the remains of Angband. They awoke and went to their lord's help, ripping Ungoliant's webbing apart with their flaming whips and compelling her to retreat. She escaped, and all the Balrogs prepared to chase and destroy her, but Morgoth intervened, ordering them to accompany him to Angband. Ungoliant's onslaught on Morgoth was believed to have left a resounding scream on the earth, earning the region the name of Lamoth, where any outcry was reported to reverberate back from neighboring hills in his voice. The insane hunger eventually made Ungoliant devour herself. Ungoliant was a unique being. Whether she was a tainted Maya or something wholly foreign to the godly Ainur, she was a rather strong being with extremely alien yet straightforward intentions. Ungoliant fought Morgoth and would actually have won if the Balrogs had not intervened. Gwelum, as she is called in Sindarin, would then flee across Middle-earth, avoiding Doriath only because she detected Melian's strength guarding it. She originally fled to Ered Gorgoroth, where she gave birth to the Great Spiders. Then she escaped to the furthest parts of the south, and we might assume she retreated to the lightless realm of Avathar. Because she travelled from the far south and wound up in the far south again in both cases, we may assume she stopped attempting to escape when she arrived at her first place of residence. We don't know for certain what happened to Ungoliant and what her final fate actually was, although some believe she consumed herself in a bout of frenzied hunger. It is theoretical, but her main source of nourishment was light and meat. In a place devoid of any light or meat, it is likely that she ate herself, bit by bit, driven by hunger. That's all we know, at least canonically. We can guess and speculate about what happened to her, one of these speculations being that if she didn't eat herself to death, the remaking of Arda during the happenings of the Akalabeth might have destroyed her, since she was in Avathar at the time, and Avathar may have been destroyed while pulling Aman from Arda. Could have perished in the disaster that turned Arda around. Perhaps Eru carried out the deed that Melkor only referenced as a warning when he enlisted her to help him. Nobody has ever actually seen her die or seen her corpse or any of her remains, therefore she might still be alive. However, as we never hear from her ever again, she may have died of starvation, or she may have been buried somewhere beneath the ground of Arda, where she presumably remained imprisoned or withered to naught. What made Ungoliant so powerful? Ungoliant almost strangled Morgoth on her own, but was frightened away by his Balrogs. We don't know who or what Ungoliant was. She doesn't go around conquering nations. She stayed secluded after fleeing the Balrogs and produced spider offsprings. She grew even stronger after emptying the two magical trees of light and vitality. Her power grew to the point that she entrapped Melkor in her black webs. The only way Melkor survived was because his desperate call was answered by the Balrogs, who subsequently rushed to his help. A creature with the ability to kill even a powerful Valar is clearly more formidable than a Maiar. However, there is a catch. Ungoliant must continually feed on light and life in order to keep surviving. Ungoliant had a powerful physical presence, yet her power level fluctuated. It is claimed that she was required to continually feed on light, otherwise she would shrivel away to nothing. Even though we have not seen or heard much of Ungoliant in the texts or the movies and TV shows of Lord of the Rings, it is abundantly clear that she is one character who was very important in shaping the past of Middle-earth and played a huge part in the lore of the mythical land. Even though she is considered to be dead, she is technically powerful enough to come back to life and make an appearance on the silver screen sometime. We hope to hear more about her and her backstory in future shows. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.